Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Brandon.
And we're here to review another new movie for you. This time we saw Kingsman Secret Service. And Brandon, did you know this is based on a comic book?
No.
I bet you didn't know that.
I did not know that.
We just can't get away from them most of the time, except for the one we saw last week, which looked like it should have been based on a comic.
That's right.
And then turned out that it wasn't.
It had no source material.
I'm watching this movie. I'm getting really hard, kick-ass Mark Millar vibes, and I thought it was just because Matthew Vaughn directed this movie and he directed Kick-Ass, and it was partly because it was a Mark Millar comic. I didn't even know that. It was based on a comic by Mark Millar and Dave Gibbons. Dave Gibbons, who did the art for Watchmen.
Okay.
And I was getting a little bit of Watchmen stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. This felt really comic book to me. And now I know why it was so intensely violent. Anyway, Brandon, tell us a little bit about the story of Kingsman Secret Service, and then we'll get straight into it.
Well, the story of Kingsman Secret Service starts out with the death of the father of what turns out to be the main character, Eggsy. And it follows Eggsy's progression to learn of the Kingsman and his...
Which is a spy organization, in Britain.
That operates independently of all other organizations, including government.
Like Section 31 in Star Trek.
And it follows his training into the program, and follows him on his journey, his path of discovery, and you know what he's really all about, and what it means to be a Kingsman.
And it's a bona fide, in a lot of ways, old school spy movie. And we'll get into how old school it is, because there's a lot of commentary here about the spy genre and about modern movie making, modern technology, all that kind of stuff. And there is a crazy, insane villain plot with the villain played by Sam Jackson, with one of the craziest and most fun roles Sam Jackson's had in a while, I think.
Valentine.
Yeah, Valentine. And it's amusing that this movie is releasing on Valentine's Day, and his name is Valentine. I just think that's absolutely hilarious.
I had not considered that.
Brandon, how'd you feel about Kingsman?
As a matter of fact, this movie made me feel as though I was watching a better James Bond movie, and that was cool.
Better than what?
As a matter of fact, it actually took me back to, with the exception of the amount of violence in this movie...
When you say better, you mean one of the better.
From what we've gotten of James Bond lately, I feel it did better at being James Bond than the James Bond movies.
You can't say this is a better film than Skyfall.
No, I can't say that, but I think this harkens back, with the exception of all the violence, it harkens back to earlier James Bond, and I dug that. Sure. So that's what my board is getting at.
Yeah, it was clearly a love letter to that, to the point where they felt the need to talk about it, and I was surprised to not mind the way they did that. Actually.
And me neither. And
it's one of my favorite scenes, actually.
Even though I was thinking, oh, this feels like more old school James Bond, I was okay with the amount of violence in it, which you wouldn't see.
Okay. All right,
which you wouldn't see in an older James Bond movie necessarily. But is
that just because? I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but is that because you generally just don't mind that kind of violence, or because you thought it was warranted? Was it necessary to this material?
For this particular material, I think that there's a certain amount of homaging they're doing, but there's also a certain amount of over the top that they're doing.
Well, yeah,
and I felt for this material, it worked. I'm not saying that it had to have it, but I feel like it definitely worked for this, and it gave you that sense of they're giving it that little bit of an extra punch. Okay. And I definitely dug that. So, something that I really loved about this movie, I would have to say the storyline and the progression of the storyline, I felt really flowed, and it had nice pacing on it. And I loved how the son, who didn't get to know his father, kind of got to learn about his father and what his father was all about in this movie. Something that I did not like about this movie, that's an interesting question. There was plenty of things to like. I'd say the main female sidekick of the villain was not my favorite character. I felt that she could have been a little bit more fleshed out than just sort of a hired gun. I felt like she was supposed to be an interest of Valentine's character, but they really never explored that. So that's something that I didn't particularly care for. All in all, I'm feeling it. I definitely recommend this one for the movie theater.
Okay, well, real quick before I flip my board, I want to rebut something if you don't mind.
Yes.
I think the hench girl is fine, and I think it's because she is typical generic hench girl, and they're playing that trope. There is, and there's a lot of that in this movie where there's like parody stuff. There's playing with tropes. There's like turning tropes on their heads, but that usually only happens when they're making a big deal out of it. By and large,
right.
Yeah, but by and large, what it seems to be doing is trying to make a traditional spy movie, while at the same time saying that you can't make a traditional spy movie anymore. I think one of the main messages in this movie is the more things change, the more they stay the same. And I think that things like that are playing into that. So she's got your typical weird henchman, physical, bizarre thing. You have that with a lot of...
That's definitely true.
With both supervillain henchmen in comic book things. And it's also interesting how much this kind of crosses into superhero stuff. I'm not going to touch on that too much, but just, me being who I am, I picked up on that.
Exactly.
And this being a comic book thing, and this being done by folks that have played around with the superhero tropes before, and kind of pushing the envelope and trying to see like what new can be said with that. I feel like we're doing exactly the same thing with the spy thing, and we're seeing a lot of crosses because there's a whole lot of stuff that those two things have in common.
Absolutely, I do agree with you on those points. It's just, for me, I wanted a little more out of her, even though she was that typical type of archetype.
Do you happen to remember X2 at all?
Just a little bit.
She is their Lady Deathstrike. Almost through and through. So this movie made me feel like, and I'm basically gonna literally say exactly what this is. This movie made me feel like I was seeing an eclectic grafting of Bond, X-Men First Class, and Kick-Ass, because that's what it is.
Yeah,
so
there were Kick-Ass themes all over this.
It's not just themes.
Artwork and
the Kick-Ass thing is mostly in visuals and the gratuitous violence. This is not theme. We're talking tone. Kick-Ass. This is that Kick-Ass tone as far as the way the action is handled. So anyway, what I was going to say is it's the classic tropes of Bond. It's the emotional core of X-Men First Class, and there's like again, visually and in score, like you were talking about a minute ago, there's a lot of First Class, mostly because it's the same composer. I didn't look that up, but it's got to be. It sounded just like that score, a lot of it. And what was really cool was getting that like superhero X-Men First Class type score with little Bond flourishes in it, and I thought that was really cool.
Yes.
There are a couple of moments in particular where there's like a sting, and you're like, where there's like a Bond sting, and you're like, that fits really well in there, like really interestingly in the middle of this
too.
And then like I said, the violence of Kick-Ass. I'm questioning the violence thing. I'm questioning it pretty hard. I don't know that it was necessary, and I feel like that is a Mark Millar thing. And I questioned exactly the same thing with Kick-Ass till my brain hurt.
I do remember that.
This is a story that, being a very traditional spy thing, this is such a fun movie, I wish I could show it to my kids. I just don't feel like it had to be this like really, really super gruesome, mature, rated R thing. Some of that certainly adds to the fun if you are a mature person watching the movie, sure. I don't even want to say that it gets in the way or that it's problematic. There's a part of me that almost wishes it wasn't there. Like I just don't know that you had to tell that you needed to tell the story. It feels I don't know. It is gratuitous. I mean, but then some of that is kind of fun. I don't know. Like, I don't want to say that just because it's about some of the stuff that it's about. Although I will say that there's one thing in particular that one particular kind of like political religious thing they get into when they straight up ape the Fred Phelps Westboro Baptist Church thing that they probably wouldn't have wanted to do if this was more of a family thing. There's some stuff like that. That's the one though. I still feel like the villain plot about, I don't want to give too much away, but the villain plot about using our technology against us and getting everybody to like controlling everybody to kill each other because of a cell phone app and all that and all that stuff. Obviously, there's a lot of satire there, and there's a lot of commentary about technology turning on us. We've been doing a lot of that kind of thing lately.
And he feels justified in his reasoning too.
There's also a lot, yeah. But again, that's a big Bond villain thing. But anyway, so you've got that thing. You've got what was I gonna say? So you got the technology thing. Mm-hmm. You've got a lot of evil big business corporate stuff. You've got a lot of environmental stuff. Some of it strikes me as typical and kind of obvious. We've been doing it a lot lately, but once again, it's playing with stuff that we keep doing in these movies. I think it knows that. You know what I mean? But I feel like you can certainly, and we've been seeing this in a lot of PG-13. You can do all of that stuff without having to go quite as gratuitous and like stomach churny as they went with this. Like, if you've got a weak stomach, this is not a movie you're going to want to see. I didn't have a hard time getting through it. There were some pieces here and there where I was like, wow, and you said over the top. For me, I'm just like, I don't know if we needed to see people straight up cut in half and heads exploding and all the stuff that we saw. When
you started talking about that, I thought all of a sudden, for the first time,
do we have to have it? I don't know.
Thought for the first time, I was separating some of the violence from the extra violence, which is where we would see a head shot or a head explode, and then they may not have needed to go quite that far.
Impressively, it didn't take away too much from my liking the protagonist or even the villain and all the major people involved. I still I still thought there was a human story at the core for the most part. Although the ending, I don't want to say the ending let me down. Plot point wise, I really liked the ending, but there's a gag at the end that kind of deflated the whole thing for me for a minute.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
And maybe that's somewhat of a personal taste thing. This movie is clearly going for some sensibilities that are just not my sensibilities. You know what I mean? This is one of those movies that can be enjoyed on a couple levels, but I think it's hard to enjoy them on both simultaneously. Where you're either there for a really fun action movie with a decent human story at the core, or you are there to see a bunch of people ripped apart and some gross humor here and there. And Kick-Ass had exactly the same thing. So I feel like I'm just reviewing Kick-Ass right now, and I've said all these things in my rewind for Kick-Ass. So it's kind of the same experience in that way. Performances were all super solid. It was really fun to see some actors in this I wasn't expecting. Mark Hamill's in this movie. He came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'm looking at this guy like, why do I recognize this guy?
Yeah, he says that. I turn over and I'm like, well, it's because it's Mark Hamill. And he was like, oh, wow.
I felt so stupid afterwards.
But yeah, so that was super cool. Michael Caine is great in this. And there's kind of a cool turn with him. There's a lot of like I said, there's a lot of actors that were in this that I wasn't expecting to pop in.
There was one performance that I wasn't sold on, and it was very minor to the overall performances in this, and that was the princess. When she first,
fair enough.
When she first comes out, I'm like, well, this lady doesn't seem like a princess at all. But that's very minor.
I'm with you there, yeah. But that's okay, because then that's related to the big thing I hated in the first place. So,
Indeed it is.
Whatever. Like I said, the thing I'm digging most about this is the commentary about technology. And I know we've been seeing a lot of movies about that lately, and some that have seemed really obvious and not doing anything new with it. One of my favorite scenes, this is a really subtle thing, and I don't feel like I'm giving too much away by mentioning it, where the main character, I keep wanting to say Etsy, but that's not his name. Eggsy, thank you. Etsy, yeah, he's a shop where you can buy arts and crafts.
Put him on your Pinterest.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so that guy, and
just call him Egbert.
So the main kid and the spy that's training him, who is brilliant, by the way. And by the way, the whole Knights of the Round Table thing I thought was really cool. But anyway, so so the guy who's training him takes him to get his like typical Bondish gadgetry, and I thought it was really cool that we brought that stuff back. Because remember in Skyfall, it was like, yeah, we don't do that anymore. It's all just really super simple and streamlined.
Yeah.
In this, they still had some of it, but they made the same point about old and new in kind of a cool new way, where where his mentor is showing him stuff, and Eggsy points at phones, and he says, "What's special about them?" And he says, "Well, nothing. The technology caught up with us," and that stuck with me. I really dug that, and there's another scene later where Sam Jackson's villain character, and by the way, the lisp thing is still getting me.
That was great.
He's writing in a notebook and says that he likes writing things down because nobody can hack into it, and just the discussion about like old technology versus new technology, when the pros and cons to both. We never wind up like siding with one over the other necessarily. And I think we do a little bit with like. Well, actually, I was going to say that we do in this movie with politics and corporations, but that's not true either, because then the politicians kind of get it toward the end too. So,
let me ask you this.
So I don't know. That's kind of fun, but just the whole technology discussion I thought was handled really well, and was really super fun. And like I said, it's got that whole the more things change thing.
Well, let me ask you these two things. You said that this has been done kind of a lot lately. Do you feel that this movie did it any better or any worse than some of the other things you've been seeing lately?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I think it was solid.
You think it was solid? Yeah. So is that well, I guess that's kind of a glowing review of that aspect of it.
Well, it is, because really, anything lately that's been going in the, and I'm generalizing when I say that, but I think that's pretty much the case, that's been inching toward the science fiction realm has been kind of a warning against technology let loose. And we've been doing a lot of that lately. And of course, that, frankly, science fiction is usually about that, just to some degree or another.
To some degree.
But lately, doing it in, and I'm not, this is not a straight up science fiction film, but obviously, it's skirting that a little bit. And what we've been seeing a lot lately, though, is doing it not futuristically, but right now.
Yes.
And we are terrified. If you look at a lot of even just straight up adventure films right now, the Hollywood is terrified of the advent of modern technology. We are scared to death of the internet. We're scared to death of phones and apps and how public we've all become, and everybody sharing information. We're terrified of surveillance.
You say one wrong thing, and
we're terrified of surveillance and the NSA, and we're scared of all that. And not to get too political about it, but I just think it's really interesting to in any time in history to look at the popular culture and see what things we seem to be fixated on. We have that right now with the internet and surveillance to the exact degree that we had it with the atomic bomb.
That's a good correlation right there.
It's exactly the same thing as when we were in the middle of the Cold War, and I just think it's really interesting. And here it's satirized, and in another place it's handled a lot more seriously. But I'm painting this as a bleaker movie than it is. It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
But also there are some places where you go, oh yeah, that is terrifying. You know what I mean? It's definitely got some of that. And the Westboro Baptist Church thing, I thought kind of I got to look at it more. It kind of came out of nowhere.
But the end of it was just such a solidifying moment.
Well, the thing about it was, I wondered if that wasn't meant to be slightly cathartic. You know, it's like you finally get to see those people like get what a lot of people think are coming to them. You know, and I don't. Anyway,
and it also shows.
I guess I'll put a minor spoiler tag on this video. But
at the moment that Eggsy is up and coming into his own, his mentor is kind of losing it,
right?
From what I can see. But I wanted to ask you this: I really enjoyed seeing the protege kind of become the guy that was teaching him. How did you feel about that?
It's a coming of age story,
yes.
and what happens is that he becomes the father figure. So you know, it's your classic Superman. The son becomes the father becomes the son thing.
I dug it.
I also really appreciated that we didn't use the other chick that is going up against him in the trials to become a Kingsman as a love interest. It wasn't even hinted at. I don't think it needed to be. When they finally sort of kind of did a love interest thing, I hated it. But that part, I thought it was great. I thought she was wonderful.
She did a good. Her acting was one of the most solid performances I felt in this movie. But to your point of the love interest thing, it seems to be stereotypical in a lot of these things where they do make them sort of a back and forth love interest. And I think in an organization like this, if you want to sort of maintain any sense of reality, they cannot be attached like that. It just would not be good for an organization.
If they did, you have to have some kind of a consequence for it.
Consequence, or separate in different departments.
Yeah,
you know?
and of course, the Bond trope would be that there's like some girl informant or something that he's working with, that he is sleeping with, but she wouldn't be an agent, right?
Right. Or she'd be a desk person that just happened to be field assigned to bring him back home.
Yeah, but again, generally that wouldn't really be a love interest,
right.
Or maybe that happens sometimes. I don't know.
It did happen a couple of times.
I don't know Bond that well, and I should mention I'm not a giant spy guy, but yeah, I mean I can appreciate it. It's just like not like one of my big things, so I don't know it as well as some other people. But anyway, action is thrilling. I saw some things I've never seen before. Yeah. Backwards car chase, that's always fun.
That was totally interesting because in order to drive, let me just say, to drive a car backwards is next to impossible. That was fun.
So yeah, we're both feeling it.
Absolutely.
On Kingsman. If you've seen the film, leave your comments. Let us know what you thought about it, and if you decide to go see it based on this review, let us know what you thought about it when you get back. And thanks for watching. We sure appreciate it. We'll try to come back and review something for you once again next week. I'm Captain Logan,
and I'm Brandon.
We'll see you later.
Do 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 do